Okay, well, I sort of first came across LJHA really when my late mother wanted to move after my father had died, and I took her round to see Skite House when it was in the throes of being built, and Mum was one of the first tenants to move in. She moved into flat 37. She loved it. She loved living there. I loved her being there. I felt it was ideal for her. She made very good friends with a lot of the housing support workers, but she enjoyed the fact that she was independent but had that lifeline, and she was very happy to, join in with some things but not with others, and she was very grateful to Leeds Jewish Housing for giving her the opportunity to have one of these flats. But she lived there until she passed, and during the time that she was living there, my back was going bad again, and I lived in a 3-bedroomed house, so I then got in touch with Liz Miller, because Rosemary Harris had retired by then, and explained the situation, and said, yep, we've got just the thing, would you do a shared ownership? And I moved into 9 Stoneleigh Way. I was very, very happy there, very happy indeed. It was my boys that wanted me to move into sheltered accommodation, because one lived in Israel and the other one lived in London, and I originate from Manchester, so I have no other family in this city, and I moved into here because the boys wanted me to have a more safer housing situation. Leeds Jewish Housing have been very good to me, which is one of the reasons that I like serving on committees and things, to try and pay Leeds Jewish Housing back for the opportunities that they've given me. I do sometimes wonder how much the community realise that Leeds Jewish Housing Association is a separate entity in its own right, and that it would be nice if the community looked at it as a separate entity when making perhaps wills or wanting to offer a donation. A lot of families in Leeds, obviously now that they've had all the new buildings done, Stonegate Way and now Cherry Tree House, that they recognise the valuable contribution that Leeds Jewish Housing actually makes to this community. And they're very important because they provide lovely yet affordable housing for a community, in some within the Jewish community certainly, which I think is probably dwindling a lot, sort of my generation and above. I'm sort of not quite the very old generation, getting there but not there, and I think the needs that they provide for the Jewish community, especially where you've got, in today's society, families spread all over the place. I'm very lucky. My son that lived in Israel after 10 and a half, 12, 11 years, has finally come back to live in Leeds, which means I now have a member of family here in Leeds. And I think having that, because Judaism is something that is not just a religion, it's a way of life, it's something that I've been, totally immersed in, brought up in, lived, breathed, eaten, slept, and to have this here to provide that, I think it's wonderful, because coming originally from Manchester, the only place that people could go to when I was growing up was Heathlands. And now it's a proper village, again, being provided for in the same way that Leeds Jewish Housing provides for the Jewish community and the wider community. And people who have family who live in London who now can't look after themselves or require extra care, they can bring them here to Leeds. They can apply for the housing here in Leeds. They can live within the Jewish community in Leeds. And I have nothing but praise. I think it's great that we have this in our community and it's there for everybody. And I think even more so as people move away to go to get jobs, further afield, they're leaving family here. You've got empty nesters, and they want to downsize. And again, it's becoming very hard. And anybody over 55 can live in sheltered for the betterment of my life, and for the betterment of my late mother's life. I think it's great and I love being part of it. I've always been an advocate and tried to help people. When I worked at the synagogue, people were having housing trouble or whatever, I would often point them in the direction of Leeds Jewish Housing. Gosh, 70 years. Right. Well, I would like to wish, well, as they say, we should all live till we're 120. And that's not quite it, because we should have another 70 years, which would bring us to 140.